folks, TJ here. Atari, Jackintosh, Macintosh, Specter GCR. What does all this have to do with me yapping about it? Well, were you ever one to own an Atari and had a little envy of some of your Mac friends that were running some pretty cool business type of software, but you wanted to run it on your Atari? Well, there was a way, and it was called Spectre. There's a lot of different versions of Mac capabilities or Mac emulation, however you want to call it, on the Atari back in the day. Originally, actually, let me show you the box, because I have this one too. There was a Magic Sack, which I think I own one. It's out in the garage in a box someplace. There was one called Aladdin. There was Spectre 128. And then there was Specter GCR. This is the one we're going to talk about in this little video. This video, I'm not going to show you it running because I've made a boot up video of it before. But I wanted to finally show off the contents and talk about what the heck the Specter GCR was. Rather cool device. I owned a 1987, 88-ish. I purchased my first Atari 16/32-bit computer, the Mega ST2 or the Mega 2 ST. And I quickly fell in love with a company called Gadgets by Small. I'll admit it, I was a little bit in awe of David Small. He was a little bit of a hero. I kind of, sometimes fall in love with platforms and people in the mix that make cool things. And Dave Small was a cool dude. I remember seeing him do a live presentation at the Glendale Atari show. It was called World of Atari. I went with somebody in Modesto, California. I don't remember who it was, but he had a Suzuki Samurai. And from Modesto, I hopped in his Suzuki Samurai all the way down to Southern California. I think it was 1990, 91, 92, someplace around there. And World of Atari was a huge show. So I remember seeing Dave Small do a presentation all about Spectre. He was also, I think at that time, already touting his Super 68030 was SST board or something that made your common Mega 2 into a 68030. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the Specter GCR. I want to show you the box. I want to show you what was inside the box. Talk a little bit about what the device is. And one day, maybe, I've never run a Spectre 128 alone. I never ran a Magic Sack alone. So I'll explore those later. But I have a Mega 2 ST sitting over there that I want to rebuild into what I used to have back in the late 1980s. And by connecting a GCR to it, we're going to do that all over again. So the box was cool. It's a reddish color, reddish and white, I guess. And on the front, it clearly says what you're getting. Specter GCR. Just the name alone, Spectre, is cool. Gadgets by Small. There's the little logo down there. I so wish, if David Small watches this for some reason, I know you're long out of the world of Atari, but there's a lot of people that used to be in it that have kind of come back to, I've got a little spare time. Even if they don't have spare time, let's bump that thing up that I made just a little bit. For example, you can't run System 7 on this. It was about there, never came out, and then Gadgets by Small or whatever left the building. So why don't you come back and make System 7 work? That would be cool. I'm nudging you. I know it's not going to happen, but that would be bitching, right? So the side of the box does say Specter GCR. And this is a kind of a big plasticky box. The back of the box, and we'll read off some of this. Here's what the back of the box looks like. I'll hold it in a few different angles. And let's look at it. It's been a while since I've read it. It says Specter GCR, the newest, most powerful Macintosh trademark emulator available for Atari computers. Plug-and-play compatibility. The Specter GCR not only allows you to run Macintosh software on your Atari computer, it allows you to purchase Macintosh software and use it right out of the box. None of this converting stuff, just slap it in and go. I love slapping in stuff and going. Compatibility. Macintosh disk compatible. Read and write Mac disks with your Atari disk drives faster than a Mac can. 128K ROM compatible. runs software which requires 128K ROMs, such as HyperCard, Adobe Illustrator. That's one of the programs I'm talking about. That Atari had some cool stuff, but Adobe Illustrator was a pretty common platform and application back in the day, and people would like to run it. So PageMaker, another one, etc. Compatible with Atari's new laptop computer, Stacy. Now you can have a portable Mac at an affordable price. Compatible with future Mac software. Now, I don't know how you can quite say that, because if you kept updating it, it would, but that's what the box says, so I'm going with it. Directly compatible with Mac's HFS file system and disk format. Speed. Screen 30% larger, and overall speed is 20% faster than a Mac Plus. Specter GCR allows you to transfer data from Mac to Atari disk and back, and easily, quickly. Screen redraw speed is 400% faster with 128K ROMs. They're flashing in a whole bunch of numbers. I'm not good with math, but the 400% sounds appetizing. Optimization of hard drive. Copying a 500K file on a hard disk used to take 2 minutes. 26 seconds to be exact. It's now 8 seconds flat. Optimization of floppy disk. Floppy write speed is up to 8 times faster. Gadgets by Small. They were in Littleton, Colorado, and there's a phone number. Copyright 1989. Specter GCR requires an Atari 1040 ST Mega 2, Mega 4, or Stacy. This came out before the TT and the Falcon. Macintosh system software that you had to get yourself. Macintosh 128K or 64K ROMs. That was the little hiccup that we'll talk about in a moment. Macintosh application software. So very cool. What's the hiccup? Well, the hiccup is that you couldn't just copy the ROMs. Apple owned the ROM stuff. So if you were making copies, that would be illegal. But you could go to an Atari dealer, which I did. And I went to the one in Berkeley, California at the time, because he said he had them in stock. And I drove 45 minutes to get there to buy the proper ROMs for my GCR. So, I mean, what happens if you have a Mac Plus that had some other issues and you pull the ROMs from it and you sell them to somebody else? That's probably what happened. I don't know how they did it, or they talked to a service place and somehow bought them. Anyway, you had to have the ROMs. And fortunately, I was able to buy them. Let's open the box. So the box is one of those slit things. It doesn't really, I mean, once you open it, it's a little flimsy. At that point, you can kind of pop it on, but like most boxes, once you open it, it's hard to get everything back in, like a Christmas tree. You take the Christmas tree out, and you can't put it back in the box. So let's pop the box open. And I'm going to have to hold some, because I don't want everything to come out. But when you purchased it, the book would have been draped over on this side. It is now not in there. I've got it over there because, again, putting something back in the box is hard. But on this side, mine happens to have a couple of extra things that I'm going to put over here. It would have looked something like this. Now, the funny thing about this box, you can't really, there's a plastic piece here and a plastic piece here. Once this was, it was hell getting it out without taking one of these tabs up. And I'm pretty sure that's when I flopped this one open, because this is, I think, practically a brand new one. There's no ROMs in it, and I've got another one over there that doesn't have a box. So anyway, let's take some, look, there's a button. You can read what the button says first. What's it say? It says, I'm pushing the envelope with Dave Small. Cool. So let's take, number one is the top of the box. I'm meaning the cartridge box. So it says Specter GCR on it. And this is how it came, because you needed to put the ROMs in there. And once you shut this box, it's a little difficult to open. And it even says that in his book. If you've ever read a manual that you thought was really cool, read a Gadgets by Small manual. It's a lot of fun. It's an adventure. It's a story. It's technical. It's really fun. The bottom of the box is here. So here's the other side of the cartridge. When I keep saying box, I mean cartridge. And the back of this does say something. It says Specter GCR. There's a serial number, 108 90561. I highly doubt he sold that many, but I'm sure it was a hot seller for its time. And it has the information back here, Gadgets by Small. So cool. Let's put this over here. The cartridge looks like this. So let me put this box down a second. Probably not many times have you seen the actual cartridge. I'm sure it's out there. But most of the time, like I said, once you close the box, you don't want to pry it open and bust it open. You're perfectly fine with it staying shut unless it fails. So here's what it looks like. And you'll see there's a couple of slots here to stick your ROMs. And there were certain ones that you needed to use. So the PC board says copyright 1989, Gadgets by Small Inc., all rights reserved. There's the front. Here is the back. Here is the side that has a couple of floppy ports because you did need to. And I don't remember if it came with an extra floppy cable or you needed to buy one or use the one that you had. But you could, you needed a floppy drive cable to plug this in to where it properly does the GCR part. So anyway, that's the cartridge. So you needed to slap your ROMs on here, then put it in this box just, right. And I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to show this one. But you needed to put this in here. So you can see I've got that part in here. And then you would get this and slap it on whichever, that way. And then you would have a completed goodie. But you would probably want to test it first before you shut it. In case the ROMs were bad, you don't want to have to, again, pry open the box. So let me stick this over here. So that's the cartridge. It's really cool. And then what else is in the box? Some ad stuff. Here's an empty box. It came with a GE information, which was Genie, which was the really Atari awesome bulletin board / internet connectivity, CompuServe, Delphi, Prodigy, all those. Genie was the one that I tried them all, but Genie was the one I really liked because Atari had a nice presence there. What else came in the box? Well, it came with, and I could have swore I had a version 2.7 of this original floppy. I've got a copy of 3.0, which was the last software they did. But here I've got version 2.3. I thought I have 2.7. Maybe I sold it with the other one stupidly and didn't keep the higher one. And then there's a Mac PD disc. Stick that over here. Books, stuff. Okay. The book that came in the box, again, I couldn't put it back in there, is this book, which is about that thick, and it has information on the back. And how many pages is it? A lot. Hey, look, there's a little postage thing that you could mail your warranty registration in. That's pretty slick. Looks like it's 100 and some odd pages. 157, and then the postcard thing. So, awesome book. It's done by Fun Chat. Let me just kind of find a little chapter here. It talks about the ROMs, of what you need to do, how to put them in. I remember talking about a smoke test. If I remember right, it talks about smoke testing it to make sure everything works in your new Specter GCR. I'm trying to find a fun page. There's a lot of README stuff, but here it talks about the ROMs. So yeah, and it's really an adventure. Like I said, if you read it, you'll understand it. And you could probably download it off the internet to look at it. Later on, when updates came out, you would get things like this. And I'm going to itch my nose behind the camera here. Specter GCR. So a new version came out, and it came with a nice little booklet, the update. And it talks about the new capabilities of your Specter GCR running 3.0 software. Oh, I so wish it would have got the System 7. But it didn't. What else came later on in the mail? Gadgets by Small Newsletters. Very slick. The name of it says Gadgets News Herald, the journal of leading emulation of technology and sorcery. So how cool is that? This was a mix of update information, new version information, what programs work. You know, even if you can kind of see on the back here, when they had some stuff, they would always talk about programs that are compatible, incompatible, says it works or it doesn't work. So a lot of fun. I happen to have number 4 and number 5. Very cool. And lastly, here is a completed cartridge. So I have 2. I think I only have 1 complete box set up. But here's what the cartridge looks like, completely closed. And this one doesn't, I'm looking around. I've taken good care of this. I'm never going to pop this one open unless something happens, I guess. The other one doesn't even have ROMs. So I don't know. I've got a Specter GCR, if that GCR has the 128K ROMs, because I have 2 of these technically, and I could have 2 complete GCR units, which is a little better. Even though the Specter 128 is cool, it doesn't have the read-write capabilities of the Specter GCR. I did own at one time and sold, because I figured I'd never use it, the Translator 1, which was a device that lets your Atari read and write Mac floppies outside of this emulation stuff. But I did get rid of it and sold it, and figuring I'd never use it, and it's probably not the case. So anyway, this is a neat Specter GCR. If you want to run up to System 6.0.5 is the way I read it as the best one that is the most compatible with some sound, the least amount of issues. But when you go up to 6.07 or 08, stuff starts falling apart again. And I'm talking system software from Apple. So I happen to have, I think, 6.05. That's the version I left off with back in the late or early 90s when I departed the world of Atari. And like I said, we never got to System 7. So Dave Small, if you're reading this, if you still have one of yours, get an Atari, slap it in, do a little sorcery, and make System 7 work, and pump it out to the internet so we can grab it and start playing. There's probably enough of these out there. I don't know how many are out there, because you can buy Basilisk now that will actually run newer versions of system software on pretty fast Ataris. So you can do it, but there's something to say about cool old Atari hardware working on what was originally available at the time. And so that's it. So kind of a introduction to here's what came in the box. Here's what we're going to do next. What am I going to do next? Well, I'm going to reconnect this all up to my Mega 2 ST. I need to back up the Mega File 30 to something else. It has some software in there I don't want to lose. And then I think I'm going to wipe out the Mega ST hard drive and make 2 partitions. One that's very small for Atari only, and then maybe a 20 megabyte for everything Mac. And then start downloading stuff that works on old System 0.05 and play with it and make videos about it and show you all. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the little dive in to Specter GCR by Gadgets by Small, Dave Small, and I think his wife at the time was Sandy Small, so she had an integral part of this whole world that we used to look at. And there was some other, was it Barb? Or is Barb on Stranger Things on TV? I'm pretty sure there's a Barb in the mix. Barb from Gadgets by Small. I don't know. I'm going to have to go read the manual. So thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.